Hi, and welcome to the Foodbod Pod and our latest episode, It's All About Pizza. Join me as I welcome Scott Deley to my back garden and listen and watch as me and Bob hear all about pizza. Scott, we're here again.
We are, yes, pleasure to be here.
So, for everybody that doesn't know or anybody that should know, I'm here today back again with Scott Deley from Scott's Pizza Project, and Scott was on the podcast last year, pretty much this time last year, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think it was about that.
Your podcast episode and video has been one of our most popular. I think especially the video has been one of the most watched.
Yeah.
Because you were taking people through the whole process of how you make pizzas, how you're shaping them, and how you're then cooking them in your Ooni pizza oven.
Yep.
Okay. So Scott is an Ooni ambassador, and today we thought we'd have him back as much because everybody loved you, because we're such a good team.
We are, dream team.
And because today we're going to take it a bit of a step further and you're going to give me a bit of a lesson.
Yep, that's the plan, yep.
Yeah? So maybe then we'll take it a step back for anybody that is brand new to making pizzas and using an Ooni. What would be your top tips then for me as a new person doing this, or to anybody that's about to shape their dough and get it ready to go in?
Okay, so I think the biggest bit of advice I always give to any new pizza maker is to do with how you make your dough and basically the hydration of your dough. So I think it's really important. So the hydration of your dough, for anyone that doesn't understand, is the amount of water compared to the amount of flour, and it's a percentage. So a good place to start with pizza dough is 60 or 61, 62% hydration. So with that, it won't be really wet or sticky, so it'll be a lot easier to handle. So a good place to start is the low 60s, and the main bit of advice with this is to not feel like you need to be increasing that straight away.
So if I can put that in context then, for my sourdough bakers, my standard master recipe is 70% hydration, because it's 350 grams of water for 500 grams of flour.
Yep.
So if we were taking that as an example, you'd be having 500 grams of flour and 300 grams of water to make it 60%.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And what you would find therefore is you've got a much firmer dough to work with, which is going to make it easier for you to handle and shape.
Yeah, there's elements of it. It will need more stretching because it's a firmer dough. Yeah. But when you're actually kneading it and handling it, it means it's not sticking to you as much, because that can be quite stressful. So, and what on the online world, there's quite a stigmatism attached to people that use lower hydration, like it's not as good.
Oh, it's the same in sourdough.
And it's completely
rubbish.
Wrong. So there's no right and wrong. There's just loads of different ways, and I made the mistake of following the crowd in my second attempt at making pizzas, and it was a disaster.
Oh, what, you tried to go extra?
Yeah,
water?
I went high because I saw all the people saying, "Oh no, go higher, go higher," and I did it, and it was horrible. It's the worst experience I've had making pizzas. It was stressful. I didn't enjoy it. I was pacing around the kitchen, getting all stressed out. I remember my wife Nikki saying, "Just calm down, calm down," and I says, "No, I'm stressed." Like, she says, "It's not meant. You're meant to enjoy it." Like, and if you're not enjoying it,
then what's the point?
What's the point? You're not going to make good pizzas if you're not enjoying it. And when you get a bit more confident with handling your dough, that's when to start increasing. Because
if you want to, it also has to come back to the flour you use.
Yeah, it is.
Because so flours absorb water in different ways.
Completely. And if you're happy with the results you're getting, by all means experiment. But I generally don't go above 65%. I've been making pizzas for 4 years now, but whenever I've gone higher, it's not really been to my taste. So I generally stick to what I know works for me, and that's the thing. It might work for me, whereas someone else might only like it at 70 plus.
But this is the parallels between that and the sourdough universe are just, it's exactly the same. you have to find the level of water to flour that makes the dough how you want it to be to make it workable for you. But it always has to be about the flour that you use as well.
The flour is very important, because if you're not using specific pizza flour, if you're using more of just a standard plain flour, which you'll still be able to make good pizzas with, but it won't absorb the water as well.
No.
So the protein content will be lower, which means it'll absorb not absorb as much of the moisture. So whereas if you go in the other way and you use a real strong bread flour, if you can go really high on the hydration and you'll still be able to work with it. So the flour is, well, obviously the main part of making dough. So it's very important. And then on top of that, I'd just say be prepared when you're making pizza. Have everything ready. Have all your ingredients prepped for when you start making pizzas. What you don't want to be doing is, in this setup, you don't want to be having to run back into the kitchen if you forgot something, because the pizza takes 60 seconds to cook. So when you put the pizza in the oven, don't move. You need to be there, you need to be watching it like a hawk. So just be prepared. And I'd also say look up online, use YouTube videos for your dough recipes or recipe books. Maybe mine.
Scott's recipe book in particular, the Ooni Pizza Project, is the one you need.
But it's really important. It's how I approached it. I'm quite methodical as a person, and I think that really helps. So
absolutely, and I think the whole being organised thing. So to put it into context for people that aren't watching, we are stood in my garden. So we've got everything set up on the table to go. We've got the oven next to us, and to get to my kitchen, you'd then be running up steps. So we don't want to be going backwards and forwards and getting things. We want everything set out here.
Yeah.
And as well, because it cooks so quickly, I guess is the other reason you don't want to leave it.
Yeah, and also once you've done one, you want to get straight on with your next one, because generally you'll be cooking more than one pizza for more than one person. So you don't want to have to be going back inside. You want to stay outside with the people that you're cooking with.
So when you're making them, you want people out here ready to be able to feed them.
Basically, really, you want. It's kind of like a spectacle. People will watch you doing it. So, and what you can find is if you're the one doing it, you'll miss. If you've got family or friends around, you'll be missing the You'll be missing out on the social element, which
but
is why you have
any
people.
Kind of making food at dinner parties.
But because you can have everything here, it means you can then still get involved in the social side of it.
Assuming you have decent weather.
Well, yeah, we're quite lucky today, but yeah. Last time we weren't so lucky, were we?
No, this is true. Yeah. We stayed in the house and you kept running in and out. And we must recommend that you go back and have a listen or a watch to the previous episode, because you'll get so much information from it. And the fact, I think, that you are a very methodical person, which I can completely relate to, means that you've got all the steps and the information, especially if you are new to it. And there's nothing that's going to be missed.
Yeah.
You know, we know from writing recipes and writing our books, you cannot make any assumptions.
No, and
you've got
to follow every step.
But for us to write them and write a guide for someone, it's all there.
Yeah.
So the steps are all there. We don't assume you know anything, so that you can do it all from scratch.
Yeah, but the way I've written the book is very much, it's designed for a new pizza maker, someone who's coming into it fresh. They've never done it before, like I was when I first started. It's very much designed to help a new person out.
Would you say the same as me? I always tell people to make notes.
Yeah, definitely. Scribble all over it.
Yeah. So make notes about the flour you use. Make notes about how it fell.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I think that if you create your own reference, I can't cope with telling people to write all over my books, because that breaks my heart. My beautiful, beautiful books. However, I know people do. But I would always have a notebook.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep a journal.
Especially if you make one that you're really happy with. And it's worked well, and you're really pleased with it, and then you've got, right, that's my go-to. It might develop over time and you might have a new go-to. Things do change and develop, but if you've got something you know that works and you've got it written down, then you've always got it there to go, because you won't remember everything.
Oh no,
definitely
especially as we get older. So today's going to be a bit different. Today might be a bit busy, so bear with us, because I'm having a lesson. So Scott has bought some yeasted doughs. I've made some sourdough in Scott's going to make one first and then give me a go. So you're going to bear with us. I think there might be lots of laughter and manic behaviour when I first try this. But the intention is to feed my family and just have a go, and then you can see what it's like for a newbie.
That's always the attitude that's good. Just get involved. Just have a go. At the end of the day, the worst thing that's going to happen is it might not look great, but it will still taste good.
And and that's what I always say to people. And when people message me and go, but it's not perfect. I'm sorry. There's no such thing as perfect.
No.
It's a misnomer. It's all personal opinion. And if you've got someone sitting there enjoying it and eating it, it's more than perfect as far as I'm concerned.
It might be square rather than round, but it doesn't matter.
Still a pizza.
It might look like a rugby ball, but it's still going to taste the same. So, yeah, don't get downhearted if it doesn't look perfect when you start out.
Pressure.
I'm
not a pizza maker. Well, remember, yes, I've made pizza for my recipes, but you're the pizza king, so I bow down to you.
It'll be fine.
Right, let's do some making. Well, tell me what we're going to do.
So I thought something a bit different and quite interesting. I thought we could do here is we make 2 margaritas using exactly the same ingredients, but we're going to use the toppings in 2 different ways. So we're going to I'll make the first one in a traditional way with the sauce, basil, cheese, olive oil, and then the second one we're going to use the same dough and, like I say, all the same ingredients, but we're going to flip it on its head. So we're going to go olive oil first, basil, cheese, and then sauce. We're going to do a sauce on top margarita. So the reason we do that is because although they're exactly the same ingredients, you'll actually get a different sensation when you're eating it. So and the reason that happens is the topping that goes on last, i.e. the sauce, will be hitting your taste buds first. So your brain will be thinking you're going to have a normal margarita, but then it confuses your brain because the sauce hits your taste buds first.
Okay.
It's quite subtle, but it's just really interesting how you can use the same things and it will give you a different taste. So.
One of my bakers, when she makes her sourdough pizzas, what she does is the first thing she does is put the cheese over the dough.
Yep.
And then puts other stuff.
Yeah. So, like I say, there's different ways you can do it. And
go on then, show us your moves.
I'm just going to keep my eye on this while we're doing it, just because I need it to be at the right temperature when we actually put it in.
So the dough you've got here is standard yeasted dough.
This is my standard yeasted dough,
which everybody can find in the book. You can find from our previous podcast episode. And we've got in front of us, we've got Scott's wooden board, which has got some fine semolina on it.
Yeah, just some fine semolina. You can use flour, you can use coarse semolina, but...
So Scott's had his dough proven again in his little round pots, and he's just pulling that out from there onto the board. And this dough has actually been in existence for about the last 3 days.
Yeah, so I actually made this on Thursday night.
And we're recording on Sunday morning.
So I made it Thursday night, I proved it overnight at room temperature, and then I pulled it up Friday morning and then put it straight in the fridge.
So you use quite a lot of semolina on this?
Yeah,
when it comes to shaping, you use quite a lot?
You need to cover the whole thing with semolina. You don't want any exposed areas of the dough because it'd be quite sticky. So, especially with it being a long fermented dough.
So you're alright with using a lot of semolina?
Yeah, because at this point you want to use loads.
Right, okay.
Because when we're stretching it and when we're putting it onto the peel, that's where we'll get rid of the excess semolina.
Okay, and that's not going to affect the hydration of the dough?
No, not at this point. It's not on it long enough to do that.
So we've got a nice little circle of dough.
Yep, so at this point just reshape it. You want to, at the end of the day, if it doesn't start round, it's probably not going to end up round.
I think that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've proved it in a round pot, that helps it be round and turned out.
I'm quite anal when it comes to the shape of my pizzas. I like it to be...
You do surprise me.
I like it to be perfectly round, but again, going back to what we said before, it doesn't matter.
But you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
So when you had it in the pot, did you have any oil in there?
Yeah, just a real light coating of oil, and it just helps it come out when we're pulling it out. So
shaping.
At this stage, cover it, shape it round, and then we're going to start in the middle
So you're pushing your fingers down in the
Yeah,
middle.
so you use just that area of the hand.
So just where your fingers are.
Yeah, and then we're going to start pushing the air to the end, and you want to leave a crust of about 1 to 2 centimetres.
So you're just using your fingertips to just push it out.
And then same again that way.
So you're just gently pushing
You're just being nice and gentle. You don't want to be too rough. And then just work your way around, keeping its round shape. And you can see how easily this is getting pushed out. This is because it was a few days ago that I made it, so it's very loose, the dough is.
Yeah, but you're still getting a perfectly round shape.
Yeah, and this is how I like to work with dough. Some people prefer it a bit tighter, so they have to stretch it more. But my personal preference is like this, really.
And I take it at this point is when you can decide how thick you want the crust to be.
Yeah. So and what a thing to remember is the way we tipped the dough out. That the top of the dough,
which has got a bit of a skin on it.
So when it's in the pot, that's the top.
Right.
That's what you want the
on
top of the pizza to be when it goes in to the oven. So at the minute, the underside of this pizza is going to be the top of our pizza. So at this stage, we've pressed it out.
So you've pressed it out and you've got this crust, but then you're going to turn it over.
Yeah. So that the top in the pot, the top is the smooth side.
Yeah.
So we want the smooth side to be the top of our finished pizza.
Ah, okay.
So what you do, you'll get it to that point, and at this stage we flip it over.
Oh,
so just nice and gently. You have to be quite confident with it, but nice and gently.
So you've just flipped it over.
So now,
got a nice smooth surface.
That's not going to flip again. So
right.
This is now what was the top of the dough ball in the pot. So again, we just carry on doing what we did.
Just pushing it out.
Pushing it out. And then once you've got as far as you can, really, that's when we're going to pick it up and start letting gravity do the work.
That's the bit that's worrying me.
It is the scary bit.
So just to give you all a little picture, we're here in my garden. We have David recording in front of us. We've got the dog on the floor. And we have my husband and son in the background, just waiting to see what I'm going to do. But more importantly, they're just waiting for the food. Right.
So at this point, what I'm going to do, again, this dough is well proved. So if I pick it up and hang it on my knuckles, it's going to gravity straight away. So you do, with this type of dough, and with your dough I think it'll be different, you do have to be quite quick. And it's not, you're not going to need to like be stretching it. It's going to stretch.
This is the bit that really worries me.
The thing is, what you could do, I mean, you're at a decent size there already.
I was going to say, can you use it as it is?
You could.
If you're a learner, you don't have to do the stretchy handy thing.
No, you don't. And with this dough,
so you could just get that onto the peel already.
You could, and that's a different way of doing it. You might want to build it on your peel.
So you could get that onto the peel and push it back out again and reshape
yeah, but the thing is with the peel, once you start adding toppings to it, because they're wet, there is an element of you need to be quite quick, because that will soak and you'll end up having it sticking on the peel.
Right.
So whilst you can do that, or you could do it on a wooden peel, which is probably a bit easier.
Okay.
But
okay, go on then, show me.
So yeah, and at this point, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to get rid of the excess flour.
Okay.
Give it a quick toss between my hands, and you'll see a lot of the semolina fall off. So I'm going to do that quickly now. So just put it onto your hand.
So you flipped it over onto one hand. Yeah. You're brushing away the semolina.
Get rid of that, and then literally pass it, and you'll see all the flour coming off.
Yeah, I know, it's coming all over me.
And at that point, it's pretty much stretched.
Wow, so you've just flicked it from hand to hand, put it over your knuckles, and then you're putting it back on the table.
So that, I'd probably say, because when you put it on the peel as well, excuse me, you can give it a little bit more of a shape and a pull to make it a little bit bigger.
What is the point of doing that bit?
Which bit?
That handy bit.
So you need to get rid of all that semolina we put on.
Okay.
If that didn't come off,
you're getting that off.
Yeah, so that would burn.
Okay, but do you think it makes a difference to the outcome? Like for the thickness and the way it cooks?
Yeah, so for a Neapolitan pizza, which these are, you do need it to be quite a thin base.
Okay.
So whilst we could have left it as it was, it would be a bit thicker, and it would probably require a bit longer in the oven at a lower temperature.
Okay.
But for the style of pizza, the Neapolitan, it's all about high temperatures, fast cooking.
Is that all doable with longer nails?
Yep. My nails are quite long as well.
Bit like now.
So that's, now we're ready to top.
Okay.
So we're going to go sauce first.
So we've just got some sauce ready, just putting a ladle of sauce over it.
And with this, you don't need much, because
So
the more
we've got
moisture,
a standard soup ladle and it's not even full.
the more moisture you add onto it, the more likely you are of an accident of it tearing whilst it's in the oven.
So just using the ladle to spoon it around.
Yeah, and just nice and circular. And you go up to where your crust starts. That's where you go up to with the sauce. It doesn't matter if you go onto it, but we want to leave
it out a bit.
We just want to leave the crusts as they are, and that's that.
Okay.
So then we'll go on with some basil leaves, as many or as little as you want, or if you don't like basil, obviously don't.
Okay.
But again, I like to put it quite an even spread. So what you want is for every mouthful of, every slice and mouthful you have, you want to be having a taste of everything that's on it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Like the perfect sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've
again,
just got a very few small amount of basil on it.
And then we've got some, this is called fior di latte mozzarella, so it's quite a low moisture
so you're not going to have the moisture weeping out of this?
No, which is another good reason to use this, so you're not adding extra moisture. So if
no, I won't do this time like I did last time, so I won't eat your ingredients.
Oh yes, I
yes, because last time I was eating them because I didn't realise you needed them.
It was the ricotta, if I remember rightly. And then I ran
it was
out.
really nice.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, there's a famous saying, less is more. We don't want to overload it. It's not got this style of pizza isn't like a New York style with a real robust dough, so we don't want to be overloading it.
So we've got our lovely round dough, we've got the tomato sauce, we've got just a thin layer of tomato sauce, we've got just a few leaves of basil, a bit of cheese, and it is not heavily loaded at all. This is a fine pizza.
I'd say that's really like an ideal amount of toppings for a margharita.
Okay. So you're just keeping an eye on
I'm
the
just keeping my eye. It's a
moment.
little bit low at the minute, but it's it's fine. It's not. We can.
It's usable.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Anything's usable. It just means it's just going to take a bit longer to cook.
Yeah, but there's long and long.
Yeah, when we say long, probably an extra 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Not quite. And then finally, just a drizzle of olive oil. You only want a tiny bit, so just be careful. Again, it's added moisture, so just a tiny drizzle. And again, you don't have to use it if you don't like it. Okay. But we're trying to be authentic. So again, right, this bit again is quite a scary bit.
So this is
probably
getting the pizza onto the peel.
Yeah. So this is what scares most people. So then there's different ways of doing it. I like to.
So what we're doing is getting the dough, the loaded dough, onto the peel now. Okay.
And again, so this is just slightly dusted with the semolina flour.
So slight dusting on the peel.
And there's different ways of doing it. I like to just lift the crust slightly, and then I will drag and slide this under it. But again, what you could do if you had the room, you could have this. If you didn't have a board, you could have this laid there, and you could drag it.
Okay, so you could put the peel to one side and drag it onto it.
Or, like we said, if you're quick enough, you can put the stretched out dough ball onto there and then top on there.
I'm thinking of the old, the old comedy things with the old tablecloth.
Yeah, but this is quite a key part of it, because you can obviously mess it up.
Okay, and there's no way my pizza's going to look like this. Okay.
So what I'm going to do,
lift the edge.
Lift the edge, and then in a nice quick, and you have to be confident. You don't want to be just shuffling. Yeah. It's got to be one kind of swift movement like that. So you can see there it's gone straight on, and then you give it a quick shake. And with these peels being perforated, what you'll see is some of the excess flour coming out. Because all that flour, the more flour you have underneath, the more is going to go on there, and it's just going to burn, and you're going to have a real bitter taste to the underside of your pizza.
That's going to make more sense if you watch the video as well as listening. So you just picked up the edge and did a bit of a shuffle.
So at this point as well,
you can reshape it.
You can reshape it. Again, I just like to just be be gentle and just pull it out into a nice round shape.
Does that satisfy your requirement?
It does.
Does it? Does it? It's
Quite
sufficiently round.
OCD.
Did you want me to get a tape measure?
No, I can see it's 12 inches. But you don't have to do that. Again, it was slightly
So this
off.
is your aim from, you're making a thin 12-inch pizza?
Yeah. That,
Okay.
So that dough ball was 275 grams, which is, in my opinion, the perfect size for a 12-inch pizza.
Okay. Right. Well, mine are 250.
Yeah, so that
Okay,
we might
so-
go a bit smaller than maybe 10
Okay.
inches, and
Okay.
but again,
Okay.
we'll see how the stretching goes on that.
Food is coming.
Right, so the temperature on here is, like I say, it's more like 350. I'm going to just give that another minute. We check the temperature of the oven, so we use an infrared thermometer to check the temperature of the stone. So
Right.
the stone, I aim for 400 degrees Celsius plus, if I
Right.
can, 'cause that's a good temperature for
And you
this
get
style.
the digital
Digital infrared
thermometer gun
thermometer.
thing, is
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
So if I use this now, the recording on the stone is more like 350 degrees, which is a little bit low. But what we'll do, we'll add a couple more logs.
So if you put a bit more wood on it. So what we're doing today, we should have just clarified, is we're using the wood burner Ooni. There are different ones that you can use, but this one we're using the wood burner one.
Yep.
But before, if you watch our previous video, we were using the gas one. So this is just something a bit different.
Yep. So I think we're ready to go here.
We have a little dog nose.
Right.
Very interested. Okay.
So
Oh,
what
this
we're
is
gonna
the
do-
this is the bit. This is the turny bit. Okay.
So we've got a nice flame going on there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to place the peel into the oven on the stone where I want the pizza to be,
Right.
and then I'm just going to start shuffling it back.
Right. Okay. So you put it right in.
So you put it right
and then
in.
Start shuffling it. Oh, so just a bit of a push
Yep.
and a pull,
So just like that.
and it's on the stone.
And
Just
give it
like
a
that.
professional spin.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
So at this point, I transfer to using a turning peel.
Right.
But it's probably not something I advise you to do if you're not familiar with pizza maker. I've used that to bring it out the oven.
Oh, so you,
spin
I
it.
mean, I've seen you do this with the whole turning thing.
Yeah.
So, but you could just put it, you could get the big peel,
Yep.
pull it out,
Pull it
turn
out,
it and
turn
push it back in.
in.
Okay,
I'll
so you don't
do-
need to,
No, no,
right,
no.
well it may be that I'd be doing
Yeah.
that
So
way.
what I'll do, I'll show you both methods. I like to use this turning peel to release it initially. You
Okay.
slide it under the pizza carefully, and then when it's released, you know it's okay to turn.
Okay,
Because the first turn is key. You don't want to do it too soon because then it's not set. It's not, and then you run the risk of tearing it. So
and the
you-
turning is to get it evenly.
Yeah, so you can see at the back the crust is nicely puffing up at the back because the heat is all at the back. So at
Okay.
this point I'll slide my turning peel under carefully.
So you lift the corner.
So you're just lifting both sides and you can see it's moving there. So I know now that that's released and that's okay to turn. So what I'll do, I'll show you with this. This is just the main 12-inch peel.
Right.
So what you can do, you can now slide that under carefully,
Put the whole thing back on
bring it out,
turn it,
turn it,
and then put it back in.
and then put it back in. And
Ah,
once
okay.
you've done that initial turn, that's the hard bit over really, because that is now set in its shape. So it's not going to start changing shape or anything. So at this point you can breathe a bit easier.
Okay. Okay.
But again, it just my biggest advice is just keep your eye on it, because the difference between 5 seconds could be completely burnt.
Okay.
So it really is key to keep your eye on it. And like I said, because this was a bit of a lower temperature to start with, it's not going to cook in a minute. This one isn't. It's going to be probably a bit longer. But again, that's absolutely fine, because all you'll get is a slightly different texture on the crust. It'll probably be a bit more crisp and a bit firmer.
Okay. But I take it then you can play around with temperature to produce the kind
You
of
can
texture that you
can
like.
go all the way up to 500 degrees with these.
God, you must cook that in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, it can be. And again, just keep bringing it out just to check.
Wow.
Just to check on it.
That looks massive from that little bit of dough. And I guess that's what all the stretching thing was about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what I'll do, I'll show you now with the turning peel how you can use the turning peel.
So a turning peel is basically a smaller little round one.
So the idea of this is you turn it without bringing it out the oven.
Okay.
So you're keeping it inside where the heat is.
Right. But you don't have to do it
You
this
don't
way
have to
when
do
you
it
first
this.
start.
So with this, you just slide it under and then you just turn it like that. So you're just lifting it, turning it, and then close the door again.
Just like that.
But again, it's more difficult using this at the beginning stage because that's when you can affect the shape and everything. But again, the more you use these, the more it becomes like the northern.
There's some smoke there. Wow. Lovely bubbly pizza.
And with the bigger ovens as well, this is a 12-inch model, but with the bigger 16-inch ovens, using one of these is a lot easier.
Okay, because you've got a lot more space.
There's a lot more space. It's quite tight because it's a 12-inch oven and we're making a 12-inch pizza. There's not really as much room in there, so it is a lot easier with a bigger oven.
Okay.
So I think we're nearly there with this now.
Okay.
Just
We
give it a
have
few more
people
seconds.
waiting for food.
Again, just keep your eye on it. Just keep bringing it out if you need to. So that I think that's done. That's got a nice even bake around the crust, a nice colour. We've not got the iconic leoparding spots because the temperature wasn't as high.
Okay, but which again is just a thing.
But
You
again,
don't have to.
it's not. Some people like it, some people don't. It's
And
all
there
down to
we have
personal
it.
preference.
Right, I'm going to take a picture of that one and pretend that one was mine. Cool. Do you want a bit of pizza? Scott's first pizza has just been demolished in about 3 seconds. Big thumbs up from everybody, including Bob, who's finding it very interesting. This is now going to be my turn to have a go. So I've got the pizza dough in the pot that Scott likes to put them in, nice round little pot. We've got the semolina on the board in front of us. So I'm just going to tip this out.
Yeah, so you're going to put some semolina on it first.
Put some semolina over the top of what's in there, just to help it not stick.
And just give it a bit of a shake so it coats it. So,
Okay.
and then you can either tip it out, leave it, and it will gradually come out itself, or kind of like you can prise it out from the edges. It'll just be nice and gentle so you don't.
Whoa! So
Yeah.
I've done a rookie mistake of letting it flop out onto itself.
That's fine. You can
So
just,
I've already messed it up. Okay. So I need that to be in a bit of a circle, don't I?
yeah, so cover it with plenty of semolina now, so you don't want any sticky bits.
This is because it's been sitting out.
It's just really
getting
crude.
soft.
So if
Okay, so trying to make it a bit of a circle again.
Yep.
Yeah.
just give it. That's it. So you're nice and coat. That's it.
So just coated the surface a bit more semolina, tried to make it a bit more into a round again, and then I'm going to start pushing.
Yeah. So initially I'd do it with one hand from the middle. You want to push the dough, the air into the crust. That's it.
Okay, so I'm using my fingertips to push into the crust, push into the dough in one direction, and then you went back in the other direction.
Yep. Just keep,
right?
and then once you've got your base shape, then like you say, exactly what you're doing, you just keep going
I'm
around.
using my fingertips to keep pushing into it.
Yeah.
Which is putting it back into a circle.
Yeah. And this is what I mean.
So how thick would you leave that crust edge?
I would probably go slightly, just a tiny bit more.
So we're talking about maybe an inch?
Yeah, no, you don't want more than an inch.
About an inch
Yeah.
for the edge. Okay, and how wide do you want me to push this out to?
So I'd say until you turn it over, I think I mean, you can turn it over at any stage. It doesn't really matter. But I think the way you've got that now, that's at a good stage to flip it over.
So that's probably about the size of my banneton. It's probably about 8 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm now going to turn that over.
So you're going to flip it over.
He says, just getting a couple of edges and turn it over.
Yeah.
Woo!
There's no, like I say, there's no.
Okay, so we've flipped it over. And we're now
again, you just keep working it round.
Using my fingers, flat of my fingers, to be pushing it out again.
And you can see there, like it's at a stage, this dough is, where it's so easy to shape because of the amount of time it's been proving. So if you had a 24-hour dough, for example, it would be more difficult. You'd have to use stretching more. Whereas now, to get to that stage, which is probably 9 inches, is it? You've not actually stretched the dough.
No.
You've just pushed it out.
So what do I keep going, or?
I think you're at a point there where you probably as far as you can go with that technique.
We're pushing it out. Okay.
So now, if you remember, this is the stage where you're just going to pick it up. You're going to pass it to your hand, get rid of the excess flour, and then a couple of tosses between your hands and just place it back down. and then at that point you can see what size it is,
right?
Whether or not you want to continue to stretch or not.
So I'm gonna pick this dough up, flip it into my hand. Yeah.
Yep. And just hold it. That's it. Hold it there. Get rid of your excess.
Get rid of the excess underneath. Okay.
That's it. And then just gently between you, and you'll see a lot of the flour falling off.
So we're doing this as much to drop off the flour.
Yep. And then I'd probably now look at placing it back down.
I don't think this is going to be very round.
You can make, this is the thing, because it's, that's it.
Look at that! People know, quite famously, I'm not big on getting messy. I now have got semolina flour all the way up my arms.
So that's quite a decent shape, that is now.
That's not too bad, is it?
That's okay. And then, so depending on what you want to do, if you want to make it slightly bigger, which I'd probably say you probably would want to,
put it out
just put it over your knuckles and just pass it round. Don't bring your hands up to, I'd probably keep it so the dough is in contact with here, and then it's not going to fall too much. So you want to get it on your knuckles and just pass it round, probably just one revolution.
So I've got it over my knuckles.
Yeah, so lift it up slightly.
Turning it.
That's it.
Around. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Just keep doing that a little bit longer, and then you've probably got a size that you we can go with. That's it. So that's just giving you a little bit extra.
It has. Wow. Okay. Look at that.
Yeah. So that's a decent size, that is. I think if you went any further than that, you'd probably end up with the centre of it being a bit too thin, which would increase the likelihood of it tearing.
Okay.
So now, if you remember, we're
doing olive oil first.
Yeah. So what I would say, because you're adding liquid first, just probably cover it with your thumb. You only want a tiny drizzle.
Okay. Tiny little drizzle and drops of olive oil.
Yeah.
It'd be much easier if I had a better dispenser. Probably.
Yeah, I should have brought my can. But that's it. That's fine. You don't want too much, because, like you say, you're adding moisture directly onto the dough.
And with this one, we're going to go then basil.
Yeah, you can go basil first or cheese first. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So yeah, we put cheese on last on this one, so probably. So a nice even coverage of cheese.
Cheese is going over the top of the olive oil. Hey, it's kind of round.
I think that's a really good shape.
Can I just say, just because I'm a sourdough baker, doesn't mean that this is therefore inherently in me. However, I'm pretty chuffed with that.
No, that looks really good. Honestly.
I do, when I do shaping for my pizzas, and then when I've done stuff in my book, I've pushed it out with my fingertips, but I haven't necessarily done the picking it up and stretching thing.
Yeah.
Which I probably could have done with doing.
So yeah, so what we're going to do with the sauce, instead of, as we did with the first one, you put it on as a big dollop and then spread it
Yeah,
out.
good chunk drizzle.
We're just going to literally put dollops
Okay.
evenly over it rather than spreading it out.
Before you do that, can you mention that you've just put the basil on as well?
Okay. Yeah. So we've got the olive oil on. We've got bits of cheese. I've got some a few basil leaves.
So a little tip with the basil as well is before you put it onto your pizza,
Yeah.
just rub it between your fingers, and it'll release a lot more of the flavour,
Okay.
and you'll smell it instantly. It really does make a big difference.
So are we going to spread this, or we're just?
No, you're just going to dollop
We're
it
just dolloping it.
and leave it. There's going to be no spreading it around.
So we're just dolloping.
yeah, just nice
some
even
sauce. How's that?
spacing. Yep, that's
Does that
perfect.
satisfy
Yep,
your
that's
requirements?
perfect.
Okay.
That ticks the OCD box. So I'm just going to check the temperature of the oven for you.
It works for me that you're a bit OCD as well.
So yeah, so we're at just above 350, which I think for your first attempt, I
Okay.
think is a decent temperature. It'll just give you a little bit longer to cook it, so it'll be a bit less of a stress.
Right.
So now,
You got to get
You
it on a
can-
peel.
yeah.
Okay.
So the
Has
key,
that got enough flour on?
yeah, that's fine. So the key thing here is to keep it flat. You
Keep it
don't want
flat.
to angle it up, because
Right.
then you're just going to tear the dough.
Just keep it flat against the surface that you've got your dough on.
Or even at a slight angle that way rather than the other way.
So pick it up.
Yeah, pick it up in one nice swift movement.
Oh!
That's it, perfect.
Ooh! Look at, oh!
So,
And now I'm putting it up
yep.
again.
That's it. And then you can just reshape it with your
Okay.
hands.
Look at that! Look at that!
That's it. See that? So you were confident with that. Certainly it makes a big difference.
Okay.
Okay?
I have a pizza on a peel.
Okay?
You've got to do this just for the pure joy.
But you were confident with it and it makes a big difference. If you're a bit hesitant, it can make it slightly difficult.
So I'm going to open it and push it right in and then peel it out.
Yeah, so just shuffle it out.
Okay.
Once the front of the pizza is in contact with the stone, that will stick. So just shuffle it back.
Right.
Try and maintain your shape.
So I'm going to open the door,
So place your peel
place my peel
in the middle.
and then start to shuffle it back.
That's it. Yep.
So it's adhered, which means
Yep.
now it will come out easier.
That's it.
Look at that! I have
Yeah.
a pizza in the oven.
That's it. Perfect.
I've done it. There's a pizza in the oven. So how long would you wait before you...
So I think if you were looking at, I reckon you're probably looking at 45 seconds probably at this temperature before you want to be turning it for its first time. Maybe a bit longer, but if you keep your eye on it, you'll notice. Let's just have a look at the flame. So we'll probably need another log in there just to keep the flame going.
So this is only because it's the wood burner one. If you had the gas one,
You've
it'd
got
be
your
a lot
gas, you
easier.
just turn it on and you've got nothing to worry about then.
Okay.
But just having the wood fired just gives you another element that you need to manage
Okay.
at the same time.
I think once we've done, once this one comes out, I think we need to be asking you to knock out a couple to feed the men
Yep.
folk before we play around with some others.
So if
Can
you
you
just
look?
have it, if you open it up and have a look, then you'll.
Oh, it's starting to bubble up a bit.
And can you see around the rim how it's kind of like curling up from the stone?
Yeah.
That's a sign that the base is setting.
So it's
and
cooking.
it's probably at a good point where it's kind of like set enough that you know you're not going to tear it very easily.
So my fear, of course, with an oven, you would be worried about opening the door and dropping the temperature.
Yeah, I mean,
Does-
you don't want to leave the door open for long. It's just,
Okay.
but the good thing with these models is you've got the glass door, so you
So you
don't
can see.
have to open it as much.
Okay.
So I'd probably now be looking at sliding your peel under, nice and carefully, because you don't want to. That's it. Now bring it out, and then turn it
So turn it.
with your finger,
Okay.
180 degrees. So now your main bit's at the front. And then back in. Perfect. I think she's done this before.
First prize for a learner. So, what deal can you get me on an Ooni then, Scott?
We'll talk about that off camera. But again, what I said before was you've done the worst bit now.
Yeah.
Because you've had it out and you've not torn it. It's set in its shape now. So now it's just about maintaining the even bake all around the crust.
So I'm going to be a bit brave here and ask you if
Yeah.
I can have a go with this thing then.
Yeah. So it's all you're going to do. You're going to slide it under one side.
What thing?
I'm going to be brave now, and I'm going to have a go with the, what do you call this?
This is a turning peel.
A turning peel. So it's like a little circular metal piece on the end.
So you're going to slide it under one side.
Yeah.
And then just gently lift it and turn it. That's it. Just keep.
Okay, so you're just turning
Like I say,
it
it's a
around.
bit fiddly, but
Oh, okay. So it's doable.
yeah,
Yeah, I can see that will take.
yeah. It
a
takes
few
practice.
goes.
It takes practice.
But hey, I think that was pretty good.
No, that was good. So I'd probably look at turning that again because
Just to be safe, I'm going to use the big one
yeah,
again.
you've given it a go and you did it. So just now it's all about having a look what needs to be at the
Okay,
back.
so
that
Yeah,
if you put this on, this is
you
the
can
most
see that one
underbaked.
side is a bit
Yeah.
blonder than the other, so
Yeah.
that needs to go in,
So I think a few more seconds.
and then it's out.
Yeah, and I think you're done. Yeah,
I made a pizza!
you've done really well.
I've done
Honestly,
made a
that's
pizza in
brilliant.
an Ooni! Not long now, it's coming out. We have hungry men.
So again, I'll probably just bring that out and have a quick look at it. So I think it's probably
Look!
perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Happy?
very good.
Here's my pizza. Look at that. How cool is that? It's really good fun. So this is my first pizza, and we've done a reverse margarita.
Yep.
Yeah? Have a bite. Mmm.
So again, the difference is subtle
I like it though.
because you're hitting the sauce first rather than the cheese. It just gives it a slightly different flavour profile.
I like it because it's like your Bianco idea, which is, yeah, with the cheese on first. I'm well chuffed with that. We have thumbs up going on.
But again, if you look, it's really well cooked on the base as well,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is not
Yeah.
easy. But that is, in all seriousness, that's a difficult part of pizza making. It's getting the base cooked
Yeah,
as well as
I
the
know
top.
that from the sourdough ones. Mmm. The pizzas have disappeared in seconds. Now, Scott, I have a challenge for you. You've now got dough that I've made. So this is sourdough. And this is, I've made these with 60% hydration. And they are made with Matthew's Cotswold flour pizza flour.
Yep.
A very small amount of starter because I made them last night and wanted them to last. So I'm going to get you to make the first one and make us a pizza, please. A sourdough pizza.
Okay,
So I've got 3 little balls of dough here for you to play with.
I'll go for this one.
I'm interested to see what it's like for handling and what you think.
So on initial thoughts, I think this will involve more stretching.
Okay,
I think because it's a tighter dough.
right, okay.
So I think
It's getting a little bit overcast here, so we're hoping that we're going to be able to get this done before the rain comes, otherwise it's the golf umbrella time.
so. Again, I'm going to use the same technique. I'm going to start in the middle and just push. But can you see with this how
see,
it's springing
sourdough
back?
always bounces back.
Right. Okay.
So this is what I'm interested to see how you manage it. So if I was working with this, I would be leaving it to sit
Yeah.
to be able for it to give a bit. So I'd be interested to see what you do to offset that.
Yeah. See, again, like I say, this is dough. Because it's quite springy. This is dough that I don't really work with a lot. So this is
Is that you setting yourself up already to let us know in case it doesn't work?
Yeah. So this actually takes me back to when I first started, because this was the type of dough that I made initially.
Okay.
So it's only over time, again, that I've got more confident with dough, that I've allowed it to be a lot more relaxed.
Because this is tighter, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Now, I do have some which it was a slightly higher hydration. It looked a bit sloppy to me, but maybe that would have been a better one to give you.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this goes. But yeah, it might need. I think with dough like this, I mean, you can do it. You can.
Yeah, you're picking it
you know
up and
what I mean?
showing it around really easily.
Yeah, because it's a lot stronger.
Okay.
It's a lot firmer. So you're probably going to have to be a bit more.
Yeah, you do. You have to be quite hard with it as you're pushing into it.
And again, what I do find with tighter dough as well, it's a lot more difficult to maintain a round shape, because it's not, you can't control it as easy.
So with this then, would you...
Hang on, I'm losing you. Say that again, please, Elaine.
So with this, would you consider maybe leaving it to sit briefly and starting on another one and then come back to it?
You could
for
do,
it to
yeah.
Relax?
You could do. I think it does need to be more relaxed.
Or you can do, so Scott's now got this on his knuckles.
Yeah, so again, you can, with this type of dough as well, you can toss it, which will help. So you can...
You can throw
so
flour all over me.
You can show off
Woo!
with this. Because one thing that I recently went to Las Vegas for Pizza Expo.
I saw that.
And there they do dough tossing competition.
Oh wow!
So where they call it pizza acrobatics. So they're tossing it, they're rolling it, and that's really tight, low hydration dough, because it needs to be really strong.
So what was that like? That looks really cool, that trip.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I actually decided, I've been twice now. It's the biggest pizza convention in the world, and they hold it in Vegas every year. And I actually this year I decided to compete.
Oh wow!
In a pizza making competition there. So Ooni had their own pizza competition there, so they sponsored a competition. So it was a competition specifically making pizza in an Ooni.
Wow!
So
and how did you get on?
I came 7th overall, which was good. I mean, the problem I had is because I was flying in from England, I wasn't allowed to take my own dough. I wasn't allowed to take any of my own ingredients, because you're not allowed to take any food into the States. Yeah. So I had to call in favours. I was making dough in one of the restaurants in my hotel, and I was calling in favours from people who I know over there to help me source the ingredients. So I was at a slight disadvantage from the word go, but it made it was fun. It was scary. There was hundreds of people watching.
Wow.
But it was good. I'm glad I did it. I went into it wanting to just make a pizza that I was pleased with, which I did. Like I said, unfortunately I didn't win, but it was a good experience. And
but you know, you can't win them all.
no, and like I say,
you competition you won last year.
Yeah, so that one last year was the UK's best amateur pizza chef. So I entered that last year. That's ran by a company called Love Logs.
They're the people whose wood you've
So
got
yeah,
there.
I use Love Logs. They're a UK company that produce all their wood sustainably in the UK with no plastic packaging. It's all recyclable. They plant a tree every order they get. They're a great company, and the wood is really good quality.
But you won.
But yeah, I won that last year.
How many people were in that then?
Well, I think there's about 200 that enter initially.
Wow.
And then it gets whittled down to the final 15 that goes to like an online public vote. And then I made the final 5, which is a live weekend cooking pizza. So you make a margherita pizza, and then what they call a dough stopper, where it's free license to just use anything you want. And yeah, I was lucky enough to win that. So that was really good fun.
We have a superstar in our midst.
So you can see now it's getting a little bit bigger, but we're struggling to stretch it out. But this is another technique that you can use.
So Scott's picked up the dough and he's just running it between his fingers. I mean, that's really brave.
But but you can see how it's getting
quite thin in the middle.
So I don't want to take it too
Yeah.
far. So if we go with that,
Okay.
it's a bit smaller, but it's
That's fine.
but it was a smaller dough ball as well.
Yeah, it was. It was.
So I'm just going to check on the oven. So ready for another
So
one.
you've answered a question for me that lots of people do. Do you pinch out the bubbles?
Yeah, if
And
you
you do,
notice,
'cause otherwise they're just burned, don't
yeah,
they?
any noticeable bubbles, little ones are all right, but the big ones, if you leave them, because of the high temperature and the flames, they're really gonna
Okay.
inflate and just burn. And you can pop them afterwards. It's not the end of the world. But.
So I think we'll put a few bits on this just to use some stuff up and
Yep.
have
So we're gonna go sauce first.
sauce, cheese, and jalapenos. What do you reckon?
Yep.
Got a bit of sauce going on. Bit of cheese. So this is probably going to bubble up quite a lot then. It's going to look quite thick, do you think?
I think it'll be quite a bit thicker, yeah. So what we might find is with pizzas like this, sometimes the crust will really blow up and you won't have much left in the middle, but it depends. The thing is with things like this, you just don't know until.
Well, this is why we're doing it,
Yeah.
so that you've got some different dough to see what it does.
But like you say, with the other 65% dough, I think that would have been easier to stretch, easier
See, whereas
to.
I went to this because the 65% looked like it was going to be sticky, but maybe it would be easier to stretch then.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it would be easier to stretch, definitely,
Okay.
because it's got more water in it, so it would be easier in that sense.
So we're just checking the temperature of the oven.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah, good to go. So what I'm going to try and do with this, I'm going to just use one hand
He's just going to do the quick.
because it's quite.
So we're going to get the pizza onto the peel
Yeah.
in one swish movement. Go for it. Whoa! It's like you've done it before.
So what we can do here is just give it a slight.
Extra stretch whilst it's
stretch.
on there. But this is the difference because you have made enough pizzas, you're brave enough to do
Yeah.
that. Whereas I think when you're a learner,
Oh
not
yeah,
necessarily as
it's the
brave.
same. It's the same with everything.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the more confident you'll get.
So already that's bigger because you've pulled
Yeah.
it about a bit on the peel.
And because it's a low hydration dough, you don't have to be as slight-handed with it. You can be a bit
Can put it
heavy-handed
a
with
bit
it.
more.
It will take it. But again, the thing you have to be most careful of is the centre
And
getting
not
too
tearing
thin.
it.
Yeah.
So that's going to go in. I'm interested to see how much this bubbles up to see what it does.
Yeah. Like I say, cooking with sourdough is very unusual for me. It's not something I've only actually made sourdough dough myself.
Here comes our sourdough pizza. Look at that. Now, see, I like that.
Yeah.
It's all, ballooned up round the
Yeah.
edges.
So you got some nice, but it's although it's a tight dough, it's quite there's still a lot of air in there.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like a really dense.
You could. Well, it should be light and airy. It's
Yeah.
a sourdough pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, be interested to see what the flavour's like. Because this has been proven since last night. So there should be a decent sourdough flavour to it. See, it goes against so many grains because normally you wouldn't cut into sourdough so early.
Oh, would you not?
Not if it was a loaf.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if we look at the
What do we reckon?
so if you look at the crust, there's a lot. Although it's like I say, although it's quite a tight dough, you've
got
got
all-
a lot of air in there.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is just taste the dough on its own, just to.
Mm. What do you think?
That's really nice because when I've made sourdough in the past,
Sorry.
it's been quite tangy,
Yeah, well that all depends on...
which I don't
yes.
personally like in a pizza. I
It
quite
all-
like it in bread.
It all depends on how long you've been proving it for.
Yeah.
Ah. That's a goodie.
Mm.
David, need to get in here. Well, we've demolished that pizza. So that was the first of our sourdough pizzas, which you liked.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So what we've got now then is one of the other doughs. So the dough that I've got in front of me, this is a slightly higher hydration dough. And gonna see how we get on with that. So we've just put some semolina over the top. Just plop that dough. I'm rather pleased with these doughs.
They look really good.
I shaped them this morning. Well chuffed.
Mm.
So I'm going to have a go with this one and see what it's like to work with. I'll get covered in bits of stuff lying around. So, enough semolina?
I'll probably just, when you do it, just give it a quick, just so it goes all the way around the outside. You don't want any stickiness, but that's perfect. That looks.
Okay. So I'm going to start shaping it, pushing the fingers in the middle. It is so different from your dough. Just bounces straight back.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm more used to, because
Yeah.
I'm more used to using sourdough. So I think with something like this, people are going to have to be prepared that it's going to take longer to push it out. Would you say?
Yeah.
Maybe even
like to say you could put it down and just leave it for a little
relax
while.
for
You
a
don't want to
bit.
leave it too long because you don't want it to dry. You don't want it to dry out. But you could even put it down, put a tea towel over it.
So, I mean, I had them in the fridge because I tend to keep sourdough in the fridge when it makes it easier to shape. So it could be that I could have done with taking them out earlier
Yeah.
so that they relaxed a bit, ready for us to play with.
I think you need a good few hours to relax
Okay,
when you take it out. I normally go for probably 3 hours
okay.
minimum.
So this being sourdough, it's getting lots of bubbles. As you push into it,
Yeah.
it's blowing bubbles out. So I'm going to pinch those so they don't burn, yeah? Even though they look cool. Would you turn that over now?
So you got, yeah, but also remember that this is your smooth side.
Right, so it's
When
going
you
to
took
need
it,
to go
so you
back.
could turn it over, but then
Gonna have to
turn
come
it
back
over again. Yeah.
So I've pushed it out, it's only about 6 inches. Just going to turn it over and keep pushing, push it out. I think it's going to be harder to keep this one in a circle.
Yeah, it's hard. It is harder because it's not as easy to manipulate because it's a bit.
But
firmer.
then, you know, rustic,
Yeah, but like I said,
rustic doesn't
as
have to look
anal
a
as
certain
I
way.
am, it doesn't matter. It's
Do you know, I can be quite particular with things I do, but when it comes to something like this, it doesn't bother me too much if it doesn't look like some
No.
perfect picture of something. Because it's homemade, we're making it, we're doing it.
Are you going to toss it in the air?
Oh, am I?
I think
It
you
just-
should give it a go. Thing is, that dough is robust enough to.
So you just pick it up and like a frisbee.
I'll show you. I'll give you a quick.
I've got to throw it in the air.
Keep stretching it for a while though.
I need to get Graham to see. So I'm actually using my knuckles and the
Yeah, so that's
front
a
of my hand
different.
just
Yeah.
to push it out a bit.
Again, like you say, if you've got long nails,
Yeah, don't want
then
to push
probably
it
using the
through.
back of your knuckles is probably a good alternative way of
Should
doing
I
it.
turn it over again?
Yeah, I think if you get it back over now and then keep it
Okay,
keep it that way, then you know that's the right.
okay. You can tell the difference between the smoother side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's not gonna be change the way it tastes. It's just you'll get a better appearance from it.
So what would you do to?
So at this stage, I would probably pick it up, get rid of the flour, just get it on your knuckles a bit, like I did. Get it a bit bigger, and then.
Okay. So just.
So because
Fair
this
enough.
dough is firmer as well, you can probably just like hang it on one hand and then just pat the flour off.
Okay, so I've got it
Nice.
hanging over one of my hands, over my knuckles.
But you can see the difference
Just a-
between that and your previous one at 60%.
Yeah,
that is stretching out
this
now,
is
isn't
stretching out quite a bit over my knuckles.
it?
So
Yeah,
just
maybe-
moving it around over
Yeah.
my knuckles, looking like a pro.
So I'd probably start thinking about
Putting it
getting
back
that
down
down now. Yeah.
because you can start to almost see through it.
Yeah. At that stage, you don't want to go too far.
But this is showing it's sourdough
I think if you'd have
indicators
had
because
that,
you've got all the bubbles in it.
yeah, I think if you'd have had this out the fridge for another hour, that would be a
Ideal.
optimum.
See, you try and pinch the bubbles, impossible because it's sourdough. It's what it does. And when you look at the surface, look at all the dimples in it.
Yeah.
So would you leave it like that?
I think for now, yeah. You could probably maybe get it back on your knuckles, give it one more rotation.
One more go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm picking it up and putting it
But
over
keep
the
you-
back of my hand.
Yeah, keep your hands towards the edge.
So I've got the edge going around my knuckles. Look at me!
So yeah, I'd leave it at that now.
And then we're going down.
Yep.
That way or that way?
The other way.
That way.
Yep, that's
We're
it.
going down. Here we go.
Yeah, so that's.
Let's just get rid of that
Yeah.
chunk of semolina.
I think that's a good size.
I've never been that brave with the pizza dough before, so I thank you for my guidance.
But I think there's definitely an element of bravery in it, and
I
again,
think it helps,
it's
you
trial
know,
and error as well.
But my
It's-
attitude is, it's just dough.
Yeah.
There's so much of it goes through my house. Should we try it the other way around with the cheese on first?
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. When you have a lot of dough that goes through your house, and you can play with it more, you can be braver. Whereas someone at home might not have the access to so much dough, so much flour, and is going to worry a bit more about using things, you know, or something not turning out right. Whereas it's our job,
Yeah.
and we are able to do things a bit differently.
Yeah.
Should we whack just a bit of everything on
Yeah. Whatever.
it? Ooh, okay.
It's okay.
So we've got a bit of olive oil, we've got some cheese, a bit of olive oil. I'm going to dollop some sauce on it. You can tell the difference now. I'm getting brave. You can hear it. This has been so much fun. It's nice to be doing something different with the dough. Be a bit challenged. So I've got some dollops of tomato sauce on it. I'm going to use some things up and put a couple of the leftover bits of mushrooms on it.
So what I'm going to do with the oven on this one,
Yeah.
because I've got it to a nice high temperature now, we'll go for a higher temperature, higher flame, quicker cook.
Okay.
So you said you're feeling more confident,
Oh.
so let's test it out. But you'll be able to see the difference in the finished pizza as well.
I'm having an absolute masterclass here.
So we're going to go full flame, full temperature.
Right, so this is going to be your 60 or 90 second kind of
I
shebang.
think, yeah, you're looking at no more than that.
Right, okay. So I'm going to pick up the edge, slide the peel underneath.
That's it.
Look at that!
So just pick it up before
Picking it up.
before you reshape it,
Yeah,
because there's quite a bit of flour. Just give it
a jiggle
like
so
a
it goes
shuffle
through
around,
the...
because you can see
Yeah.
how much flour is coming off, and then do your reshaping once you've done that.
So fingers underneath to
Yeah,
pull
so
it
you want
out
to be
to reshape it.
yeah, so
so
you don't
things-
want to be stretching it like in the middle.
No,
you want to
just
be
from the
doing it around the
outside.
edge. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
This is so exciting.
So,
Here we go.
so the camera won't be able to see this, but we've got a real. Well, when I take this off, you might be able to see.
Look
we've
at
got
that.
A real
Real
flame
mega
on, so-
flame going on.
Like
Right.
I say, this will be a quicker You have to really concentrate.
Right.
Don't take your eye off it.
Okay.
But the same principles apply.
Right. So we're in. We've got the edge sticking.
That's
So
it.
we've got the pizza in.
But the difference between this one and the previous ones, the first turn will need to be done quicker.
Right. So just watching
So you're
to see how
probably
it comes
looking
up
at
at the back.
around 30 seconds maybe.
Okay.
But it's all on the eye. So when it's risen and you'll start to see it browning off, that's the time to...
I can see it starting to
Let's have a quick look.
blow up. It's starting to build up a bit at the back.
Yeah, so I'll just give it a little bit longer. I think it...
Okay. So the back edge is already, oh yeah, it's already going, because the flame,
Just have a quick look with
it's
that.
quite a flame on that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So
It's
I'll
really
probably just give it-
pillowy.
Yeah. See, that's because of the instant heat.
Yeah.
It's gone bang, and the crust, the actually water, moisture in the crust. So I'd probably look at bringing that out, just have a look at it.
So sliding the peel underneath
Yeah.
to be able to bring it towards me.
So there you
Look
go.
at that.
So that's... Yeah,
So we've
perfect.
got one edge already done, a little bit charred. Back in, Bob.
He's got one.
Get it off him. So Scott has come with a box full of wood ready to be used, and the dog keeps stealing them to chew them. He seems to think it's got his name
So
on.
because this pizza's a bit smaller as well, you probably won't need to rotate it as much. You might even bring this out now and it might be done.
Okay, so let's have another look
So
then.
just have a look.
Not far off,
So I'd probably turn it
just a bit.
and get that bit a bit charred and then give it a 180 after 15 seconds
I
or
think
so.
there is a difference. It's got quite a pillowy edge to
Yeah.
it, so you're getting your sourdough idiosyncrasies coming through.
It's that initial burst of heat.
Yeah.
So it's you'll always have a bigger crust.
Wow. Have I burnt that?
No, that's on the, I think, a few more seconds. So I reckon 5 seconds and then you're done there.
Here we go. Pizza coming out. Here
That's
we
it,
go. Look at that. Slightly higher hydration. Sourdough pizza. This is so cool.
But you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Like you can see how much more air is in there. You can hear it.
Yeah. You can hear there's a real crust
Yeah.
to it. Brilliant.
So
Should we taste another bit?
what you find, the higher the hydration, the more hollow, in effect, your crust will be. It will
Yeah.
be less bready. There'll be more air in there.
And this is. So we're having a slice through. Here you go. Do you want to try a bit? See what you think of that one. So Scott's got a bit of pizza. I've got a bit of pizza. Okay. We've got a cheese pull.
Oh, right. I can't stop the cheese pull.
That's just a real sourdough jobby.
But I think it's good.
Pleased with that.
It's good to show how just using the same flour, water, salt, yeast, or sourdough, how it can be so different depending on.
Such a different dough to handle. To put it over my knuckles and move it around that much.
And again, that's down to personal preference. Some people might prefer having to really stretch it more. Other people might prefer, like I do, for it to be more relaxed.
Look at that. You can see the sourdough structure. That's what your sourdough does. And I need to stop talking because a bit of jalapeno juice has gone down my throat. I need to cough. We have one last thing that you're going to make for us because this was my request. Because I see you do these and they look so cool. So what is it we're about to make?
So this this type of pizza is called a Detroit style pizza. So it's completely, it couldn't be further away.
No, because it's quite a small pan.
Yeah, so you can get different sizes of pans. This is the smallest one that you do, but this is the only one that will fit in this size of oven.
Okay, so we've got a deep rectangular pan.
So this is a Detroit pan. So this is a dough that I make. It's a high hydration, 80% dough, or basically a focaccia dough.
Okay.
Which I've
you've already par-baked.
So you par-bake it initially. So what that does, because the toppings with Detroit pizzas can be quite loaded and quite heavy, it just means that it won't affect the side, like the depth and the airiness of the dough. Right. So you can put whatever you want on it now.
So it's not just because you were bringing it here today. You would typically par-bake.
I would always par-bake it. Traditionally, when Detroit pizzas were invented, and if you go to the original Detroit pizzerias over in America, they actually don't par-bake them. But I think it's something that's developed over time that people like, and I personally think it's an easier way of doing it.
And I asked you to make this because I see you posting these and they have these most amazing edges to them.
Yeah, so it's called a frico. So it's almost like a cheese wall, a spiky cheese wall. So you load up. This is not something you want to eat if you're on a diet or you're watching your cholesterol levels. There's a lot of cheese goes into this.
So it's the cheese. See, I couldn't understand when you said you were par-baking. I couldn't understand how you're going to get that edge. So it's cheese.
Yeah, so it's pure cheese. Yeah. So it's not a healthy pizza, but it's now and again it's okay.
Okay.
So we've par-baked the dough, and then we re-oil our pan because it's important to oil it. Because that will help us release the frico from the edges, because it can be quite difficult to keep it.
It ends
intact.
up like, almost like a filigree crown edge.
Yeah.
I think they look amazing.
So I'm going to keep it quite simple with this one. It's like the margarita version of the Detroit. It's called it's called a red top. Right. But then I add a couple of elements to it afterwards to just jazz it up a little bit.
Okay.
So all we do first is, like I say, we oil the sides, and then it's just a case of on with the cheese, and then it will go in the oven. And
so
then
this is grated firm mozzarella?
So this is just normal grated mozzarella that you can buy from the supermarket, and it's actually, I found, a real effective cheese to give you that frico edge. Okay. What you could mix it with some grated cheddar, which is nice as well.
Okay. Even though that's going to add extra oil, that's all right.
It is, but yeah, you wouldn't want to just use cheddar because it wouldn't.
Are you about to feed that down the side?
Yeah. So basically, you just load it up around the edges, and then because there's like a very slight gap from
when it's been par-baked,
it's just shrank.
So the cheese is feeding down the edge.
Yeah, so it will fall down the edge.
Oh my word!
Like I say, there's quite a lot.
My thighs are getting bigger just watching. That's a lot of cheese going over the top.
It is, but again, traditionally, if you go back to, if you went to Detroit, you wouldn't have this real frico high tall edge. It kind of goes against the traditional.
But it's something that's been developed amongst pizza.
And it looks cool, and Instagram, you get some wicked photos and stuff of it. But what you want to do, you want to almost like press it.
Press it up against the edges.
Up against the edges.
Okay. So when you cut into it, you're going to get the edge, not necessarily cheese, all over the middle as well.
Yeah. And like I said, you could add different cheeses on the top, like if you wanted a mixture.
Okay.
But basically that is it. That is all you're going to put on, because everything else goes on.
Afterwards.
Even you could put the cheese on now, but the tomato sauce on now.
Okay.
There's no reason why you can't, but traditionally It's called the red top, and it's like 2 vertical stripes of sauce,
Okay.
and that's the iconic.
Does that not make it go a bit soft where it puts it over the top?
Not really, no, because you've par baked it and everything. That structure is held. It's
Okay.
really, you could literally. I mean, I've got some recipes of this in my book where I've used a lot of toppings, and because you've par baked it holds its
Okay.
it holds its structure.
So
Sometimes as well, if you just, I picked this up off one of my friends. If you almost like lay a couple of the bits of cheese over the edge,
so you're pinching it up and over the edge of the pan.
it kind of like holds it.
Okay.
But that as it is now, and with the oven, you don't want like so the flames completely died down in here, which is
Right.
good. We don't want roaring flames.
Okay.
We may want a little bit of flame towards the end, but that's at 400 degrees, which is about right now. So we're going to put that in.
Okay. All right. So this is a glove thing.
Yeah.
It's
So
just
always because you're putting it in and out, always use your gloves.
so this is really heavy duty flame retardant
Yeah.
gloves, and you're just going to place it in. So
I'm
you
just-
don't use the peel on it or anything.
No, I'm just going to place it in that way initially, and then there's no set time really for this. You're just going to judge it by eye, rotate it if you need to. I would imagine this is probably going to take between 5 and 7 minutes probably.
I mean, we're
to
still
cook.
not cooking a long time here.
No,
We've got a
no.
high heat.
But in terms of total par bake, you would probably be looking at the same amount of time. But one thing I would say when you're par baking the Detroit dough, it can be useful to put a lid on it.
Right.
So with these pans, you get stainless steel lids because if you've got a flame,
Yeah.
it protects it from burning.
So did you par bake it in the Ooni, or you
No.
par baked it in the oven?
I par baked it in my home oven using a piece of steel.
Okay.
Which are handy because then you get a good bake on the base as well.
Okay.
But you can cook these in your home oven as well. In fact, some would argue that you actually get better results
Okay.
using your home oven.
So whilst this is cooking, then what's next for you then, Mr. Deley?
Could you just ask that again? There's a bit of dropout on your mic.
So whilst this is cooking, then what's next for you, Mr. Deley?
So I've been really busy recently doing lots of different things which have been really exciting. Pizza competitions, content creation, events with you at Cotswolds. It's been a really busy period of time, but the next exciting thing I've got coming up is again something with you. So I'm going to be running a pizza course, like a masterclass type thing at Matthews for
We're doing it at Farm Aid.
at Farm Ed. Again, it's part of a
So I am hosting a food tour for Christopher Kimball's Milk Street in the States. And it's a 5-day food tour which incorporates the Cotswolds and London. And Scott's just pulled out the Detroit halfway through,
So you
and
can
my
see-
word.
Can you see it starting?
Yeah, we've
to-
already got some
to really
edges going
set?
on.
So I've just given that a quick turn. I'm going to put it back. I'm going to leave the door open because I
Okay.
think the heat's probably just a little bit too fierce at
So
the minute.
yeah, as part of the food tour, Scott's going to be making
Yes.
pizzas.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing like a masterclass, start to finish, making dough from scratch, and then we're going to be using the Farm Ed's got a really cool big wood-fired oven.
Yeah.
So we'll be teaching how to cook the pizzas as well. So yeah, looking forward to it.
It's going to be a really good week because the guests are flying in from wherever they're coming from, and they're going to be at Farm Aid, visiting the farm, having a farm walk and seeing where everything's grown. Going to have a masterclass with Scott. They're going to be going to the mill at Matthews to see where all the grains are milled and turned into our flour, and then coming into London and doing some classes with myself and Sophie Carey. So we've got some sourdough, we've got some other kinds of baking. Going to be 2 full days at the National Bakery School, and then we have a final day when everybody can book one-to-one time with Sophie and I with any questions that they've got. So it's the first time we're doing this next spring.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And hopefully it might be that we then have some repeat dates. So Yeah, it's
I'm looking forward to
exciting.
it because it's not actually running an actual organised thing. Although I've done things like this with you,
Yeah.
it's the first time I'll actually be doing a proper class,
Oh,
so to
good.
speak. Yeah, so
Well,
I'm
I've got to
looking
be
for-
honest, it'll be the first time I'm doing it with 12 people.
Oh yeah, definitely that as well.
So how are we looking?
Yeah, so you can see it's starting to brown.
Wow.
So you'll
So
get-
do you want the surface fully browned? Will
Not
that
fully, but that we want it. It's not quite melted enough,
Okay.
so we'll probably leave that in just for a couple of extra minutes.
I think those gloves are really important on this one.
Yeah, and you can get grippers as well to help you.
But looking at them, that's not your standard oven
No,
gloves.
these are actually from Ooni, so these are designed to be used at these high temperatures. But yeah, they're essential. You can't be touching things like this without gloves, or even if you were using the grippers, you would still need the gloves because the heat that comes out the front of the oven is, well, we're talking 400 or 500 degrees
Oh, yeah.
Celsius. So
That's very
it's,
hot.
yeah.
So, one question then, because you've very kindly come to my home today and you've brought this with you. How long are you going to need to let that cool down before you can put it back in the car?
I think it always depends on the temperature outside. I think we're probably looking at probably half an hour before you can handle it enough. But ideally, you want to be leaving it longer, really.
So if
Probably
people are thinking,
probably an hour. I would give you some.
I mean, with these wood-fired ones, if people are thinking of taking them somewhere for a picnic or something like that, they've got to allow that time.
You've got to factor it in. You can't just turn it off and it's cooled down. Like I say, we're talking high temperatures, and although they are really well insulated and the surfaces themselves don't get mega hot, the underside of it where you're going to have to touch it and carry it's hot. So I would be leaving it an hour,
Okay.
really, in an ideal world. But again, on a cold day, it'll
It's
cool down
turned
quicker.
chilly here.
Yeah.
This is England in June.
It is,
This is
it
England
is.
in the summer.
Yeah,
Is it still June or we July yet? I think
July,
we're still June.
July tomorrow.
Yeah, July tomorrow.
So I'm just going to turn that round, just give that probably
Got
another
a bubbly
30
brown.
seconds.
Right, so out it comes.
So
Oh
if you
my
can see-
word.
You can see it's nicely browned.
Yeah.
All the edges are nice and laced and brown.
How
So-
on earth are you going to get that out of there?
Well, I'm hoping this is something that it's not.
Takes a lot of practice.
And again, it might be that it doesn't come away very easily.
Okay.
It depends on the quality of the pan
Yeah.
that you use, because these are Ooni pans that they've just released. They have a real good non-stick layer in them.
Okay. Feel free to leave that open to cool down if
It's
you
just
want.
blowing all the ash.
Okay.
So what you do, we're going to just leave it a couple of minutes just to cool slightly. You don't want to go straight in there, but if you won't be able to see it on the camera, but if you can see real closely, it's starting to just, as it's cooling,
Yes, is it cooling, separating?
it just starts to edge away from the
Yeah,
surface of
ever
the
so
pan.
slightly.
So it only needs a couple of minutes, and then it's, I mean, the tricky bit is the initial, getting the spatula in enough without damaging it.
We're
'Cause when-
calling this a spatula, but what we've got really here is, a very thin metal scraper.
Yeah.
Purchased from possibly a DIY store, more than a kitchen store.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely not from a kitchen store.
This is about finding the right tool for the job.
But again, it's finding something that works.
Yeah, absolutely.
People swear by these, and these, as you can see, they've got a sharp chamfered edge.
So this is, what would you call that?
It's a spatula, but
It's a big metal one, so it's
Yeah.
a long metal plate, but so that you can
But-
put it underneath
but because
something.
because it's quite long,
Yeah.
I find it quite difficult to use. So I use this to actually get it out the pan once I've released it with
Okay.
this. But people can use knives to release
I think this
it.
is the interesting bit. This is going to be the challenging bit, seeing you get.
Yeah, so I really hope that this comes out, because, like I say, the effect of it is.
Do you want a plate for it to go on?
No, I'll put it directly on here so
Okay.
it cools down. So I think I'm going to go in this bit. So what
So what Scott's going to do is use his special metal spatula to start to ease this away. So you all of that kind of edgy, lacy, filigree cheese you got around it, you've got to try and do it without breaking it.
But can you see these bits that are hooked over?
Yeah.
How it's
it's helped create some shape.
Maintain the height. So I'm going to go in, and again, if you get the pan grippers, they can be quite useful because you can hold the pan quite sturdy.
Okay. It's going in. So you want to.
So you inevitably, when you first go in, you are going to break some off. There's no getting around that. But once you're in, what you'll be able to see.
Oh wow!
So I'm in there now.
Yeah. So we've got the scraper between the pan edge and the cheese. So then you can
gently ease the rest of it away.
This is a man that's done it before.
And then you know you're clear.
Wow. So we've got one edge away.
So you've done one edge. So then we're going to move it. Always start in the corner.
And it's all just staying together.
So, but you have to be quite this makes sense. But you have to be quite forceful and gentle at the same time. But again, it's something that will come with practice. There's it's one of the biggest questions, most common questions I get with this style. Like, how do you do
that?
And trying to explain to someone how to do it in text, like on this, it is very difficult. But again, it comes with practice.
You need to film yourself doing this.
There's
so you can't really see full detail here, but it's a very delicate process of finding that separated part between the cheese and the edge of the pan, easing the metal spatula in between the two so that you separate it, and I guess then you get this long spatula to feed in and lift it out. And actually, the longer you're leaving it to cool a bit, the easier it's actually making
So what sometimes because what happens is if you get it out too soon, before it's cooled enough, you'll take it out and the walls, the cheese walls, will actually start to
subside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it needs to be cooled enough. So when you take it out, it's going to maintain that structure. But I can tell. Touch wood. But I think.
He says.
I think we're onto a winner here.
Okay. So you're going to take your.
Again, it can be quite difficult to get these out, especially with the smaller pans.
So you're just easing it up.
You're just easing it up without.
To go. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
So you can see that that's maintained its.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
So this is what I wanted to see, was how you ended up with this. So we've got these really sharp edges, real corners from the cheese, and look at that. It's like filigree. If you think of a crown or something with
that's what they call it. It's called the cheese crown. Like.
And that makes sense. I'm not going to put it on my head, but that makes sense. It is a crown.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's as perfect as I've ever done. That's as good as really you're going to get without.
Which is pretty cool doing it on camera.
Yeah. Oh God, please.
You can breathe now.
Yeah. But again, it's almost like there's always an element of pizza making, depending on the style, that is the key bit, the scary bit. Like with Neapolitan, it's that sliding your peel under for the first time and not breaking or tearing it. Whereas this, it's all about gently easing out the crown.
So you could just serve it like that.
You can literally do.
But then you do add toppings to it.
Yeah. So with this one, the traditional is a red top, which is basically all you do now is add the sauce. So it's 2 vertical stripes down the middle.
Just standard pizza sauce.
Just standard pizza sauce. I use a thicker sauce compared to what I would with a Neapolitan. So I would add a bit of tomato puree, a bit of oregano, a bit of garlic powder, just to give it a bit more oomph and a bit thicker in texture, because you want it to maintain its stripe. So and then
I'm fascinated as to what's with the honey.
So after the sauce, I'm going to put. We've got some burrata cheese.
Oh, so you've already taken that out.
So
and
I've taken it out of the skin,
and
it's
you've
nice
stirred it up. Oh,
yeah. So basically, with this, I'll do 4 dollops of burrata, tear some basil on, and then some honey. So what I used to use, I always used to use chili honey or hot honey.
yeah.
And then I actually, when I was in San Francisco, and we went to this famous pizzeria, and I was talking to him, and he swears by honey, just plain, just standard honey.
Okay.
And I tasted it, and it was just so nice.
So you just got a squeezy one that makes it easy.
just a normal honey.
Okay.
So again, this is something that I'm really anal about these stripes. So they have to
Are you sure that my spoon is okay? Do you need something else?
If I've got
if it
something
doesn't-
to blame.
If it doesn't work here, then it's the
A funny story. The first one of these I ever made, I actually transferred the sauce into a squeezy bottle.
I was going to say, do you want an
And
icing bag?
And I kind of like outlined the stripes and then filled them in with the sauce because I wanted it to be
I get
just
that.
perfect.
Honestly,
when-
I've
thing
got
is, when
icing
you-
bags. You sure you don't want one?
No, I'm confident now. But when it's quite a long-winded process, and when you've gone to that much effort
Yes,
and
yeah.
you've got it out, and it's
But you've got to keep in mind, I wouldn't know what it's meant to look like.
No.
So most people in this country are not going to know about the
probably
lines
not,
and what's
no.
necessary. Here he goes,
But
here
again,
he goes.
it's just 2 vertical stripes.
Oh, okay, so it's quite thick. I was thinking a couple of thin lines.
No, you want it quite thick because
Okay.
it just
So
gives a
basically,
nice...
we've got a couple of lines of tomato sauce.
Yeah.
Okay. So that when you get a piece,
Yeah,
you've got a bit of everything.
Yeah, because it's a bit, without the sauce, it's like anything, it's probably a bit rich.
Are you sure that you're happy with those stripes, Scott?
Yeah,
Are they doing it for you?
they're fine. That one's probably not quite.
You want to scrape it off and start again?
So depending on how many squares you slice it up into would be how many dollops
Okay,
of burrata. So we could probably slice this into 6. So if I do 6,
That's some serious heart attacks.
like I say, this is not something you're going to eat if you're
Wow.
counting the calories. But
So we've got dollops of the lovely creamy insides of burrata. That stuff is just like heaven.
my wife Nikki just waits till I've done this, and then she hopes.
Well, I was hoping you might leave some
I'll leave you a little
in the
bit.
bowl.
She's always mopping up the burrata. So then it's just a few
Basil leaves, and you're
bits
just
of
tearing
basil-
them up
just
and
tearing them
sprinkling
up,
them.
and yeah, there's different way you could put a leaf on each bit, but I think I quite like the
It's the colours, isn't it?
yeah, and the way it looks a bit more.
We've got the red, white, and green.
Yeah, like I say, it's the Detroit version of a margarita,
You can really smell that basil.
and then again just a nice.
So now it's drizzling right across everything with some honey. Wow,
And there you go.
that is a masterpiece.
It does look impressive, doesn't it? It is a really visually.
I mean, thank you for showing us, because I had no idea how that was made.
Yeah, again, it's the polar opposite to the Neapolitan pizza, but equally it's
really
cool.
cool.
It's just as nice. It's very rich. You wouldn't eat one of these on your own. It's very much a sharer.
So how on earth do you cut into that?
So
Would you still use your pizza sauce, and you want a knife right
I'd probably
across
use I should have bought. I've got a proper cutter at home, but I didn't bring it.
it? So one of those kind of rocking knives.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
ideal. Because
Otherwise, just a great long knife.
what
straight
I
across
would
the
like
top.
to show, if we can cut it, is just the internal structure of the dough,
Okay.
because it's really
Let me go
light,
and get
airy.
a board and a big knife. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Scott, are you going to cut into this most amazing
Yep.
fabulous piece of looking thing.
So I just want to cut into it really to show you just how light, because
It looks heavy.
well, yeah,
But it probably isn't.
The dough is super light, so
Okay.
it's actually easier to eat than you would actually imagine.
We can see now why you use your kind of curved rocking knife. So you're cutting right across the middle, lengthways. Oh, wow.
So then we'll just go back across.
It's one of those things that you don't know that you actually want to cut into.
Yeah, you do. You kind of like,
Wow.
it does feel like you're spoiling.
Sometimes we make loaves of bread that you just want to varnish and keep.
Yeah.
I have a very interested dog looking up at us.
So then, if you just pick, so let's pick this corner, for example.
Wow, it's really light.
You can see how light. I mean, it hardly weighs anything. For saying
really
how
light
much cheese,
dough.
the dough itself is just so. You can see
Yes,
how
really.
soft. It's almost like a sponge. It's so light and airy, and
That looks amazing.
although very thick, it's
Yeah.
when you first bite into it and eat it, you're just surprised at how opposite it is to how it looks.
Before I do that then, because it's going to happen, but before I do that and my mouth is full, can I just say thank you?
That's okay. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. It's been so much fun. We've all been watching. We've all been getting involved, and it just thank you again for being on the podcast.
It's okay.
You
Thank
know
you
we
for
love
having me.
you. You know I love you. It's just the more we do together, just is brilliant. And yeah, David's ready to go home and fire his up. And we'll be coming to you for tips. But thank you. It's
That's
been really
absolutely
brilliant.
Thank you for having me. It's always good
I've
fun.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been good.
And do you know what? I'm pretty good at it.
You are definitely.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'm gonna do this thing.
Just be careful with the sharp bits because they
Okay.
can pierce the roof of your mouth.
So if you hear a sound that goes, pshoo, that's my bum just going, whoa, expanding. Here we go. Oh, it's so light.
It is, isn't it?
That is such a light, airy dough.
Because that dough ball is actually just less than 300 grams.
Wow.
So it's like the same amount as dough nearly as I use for a thin.
And the honey is really so I'm going to go for an edge now. I'm going to go for an edge,
Yeah.
David. You know, I was quite prepared for that to be a bit too excessively cheesy. And it's not.
It's not, is it? It's surprising. Like I say, it is a lot of cheese, but it's a lot lighter and easier to eat than you think it's going to be.
Well, before I keep eating the rest of it, I'm just going to say thank you for coming. It's been brilliant. Any questions about your Ooni or your pizza making? Well, make sure you've got Scott's details. We're going to have details on our website. There'll be details attached to the video, details attached to the podcast. Scott is your man. He's our man. And yeah, right then. I'll see you later. I'm going in. Thank you very much. Well, now that I no longer have my mouth full, we really hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope that you enjoyed having Scott back with us and that you will be inspired with your pizza making. You can find full details of this episode in the video description. Check out the podcast, check out our website. And if you make some pizzas, do tag us. Let us know how it's gone. Until next time, this has been the Food Bod Pod.